Today on the Self Smarter podcast.
I think that's been an inspiration to you and I that we're going to use in 2023 is to make this podcast always about lessons in leadership, but we're going to start to expand into some topics that are less in the office. Hi, we're Danelle and Megan, the hosts of this conversation-centric podcast for leaders seeking to be better every day. Whether you choose to be a leader in the workplace, at home, or in your community, we believe the most effective leaders are equipped to not only be self-starters, but self-smarter.
Hello and welcome to Self Smarter. I'm Megan and this is my friend and co-host Danelle.
Hello, everyone.
Look at us back in Dallas. Look at you back in Dallas.
Yes. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Yes, I can't believe it.
2023.
Ready for it.
Are we?
I am.
You're done with 2022.
Yeah, I lived a lot in 2022.
Sure did. Didn't we all though?
I don't know.
I think we did.
I think we did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
After the pandemic, we settled into not pandemic anymore.
Right.
I lived crazy without a mask on. Wild and crazy.
Wild and crazy, yes.
So where have you been? What you been doing?
Well, I think everybody knows I've been in New York, but I've been enjoying my time back in Texas. I missed everyone and missed my home. I mean, Texas will always be my home. And but I'm certainly enjoying my time in New York, and I know we talk about it a lot because it's kind of a big deal. But yeah, it's great. I really enjoyed the holidays and
Good.
yes.
You look like you're thirsty.
Yes. Well, it was suggested that we kick off our new year, our first episode of 2023 with a cocktail, and I'm not the one to say no to that.
No. So David with Snacks Media is probably listening to this right now.
I'm assuming.
Yes.
I hope so.
Yes, I hope so.
He produces the dang thing.
Suggested that we have a drink and recap 2022 and talk about 2023, which is a great idea. However, some people forgot to bring the liquor.
Both of us
We forgot.
We forgot. So we were having to rum it, scrounging, and we have found a doozy of a drink.
Doozy of a cocktail.
I would like to apologize to the DMAer who drinks this on a regular basis because we found it in the fridge.
Yeah.
I hope it was I hope it was a dirty Santa gift because it is something special.
It is. Y'all, it's clear. For those of you that are out looking, it is definitely not water. Looks like it could be.
But it would not come from a tap that I would want to be drinking.
No, exactly.
So it has
like dirty water.
Dirty water.
It looks a little like dirty water. And it tastes
A little bit.
like a peach.
A bad one.
A bad one. Not
Bad
a good
peach.
peach. No. So you'll hear us drinking throughout, but if there's any gagging, burping, vomiting of any kind, I will apologize now right at the top.
Oh my gosh. Boy, we're kicking off this new year with a doozy.
I'm just saying.
And y'all, she hasn't had a drink. I think she's had one drink. So that's
One tiny sip.
One tiny sip, and here we go.
Here we go. Mm-hmm. Okay, so by the end, we'll see how far we've gotten.
Okay.
Into our rotten peach drink. All right. Well, Happy New Year. 'Tis the season for resolutions. Mm-hmm. So I thought it'd be fun if I asked you the common question. Mm-hmm. What do you resolve to do in 2023?
Not to resolute. Is that the right word? Is that the right word?
Yes, I actually think it is. Not to resolve, not to resolute.
I don't know. Jordan's probably, literally eyes are crossing right now. Yeah. She'll fix my grammar, I hope. Anyway, I'm not big on resolutions, but what I am big on, and we're going to cover it in a future episode, is the habits. Habits. I really do like habits.
Yeah.
And we read the book as a company, Atomic Habits by James Clear, and we're going to do an episode on that. And I do think about new habits that I want to form or current habits that I want to improve on.
Okay. Do you know of any?
Yeah.
Like making your bed?
No.
That's one of his big ones.
I know. That's how you start.
That's right.
That's how you start. Oh, I absolutely do that. I always have something around my physical health.
Yes.
It's really important to me. But it's interesting because it's more this year around continuing on this journey of my emotional and mental health and keeping that, I worked really hard to get that in order. And it's, I'm learning that it's it's something that you have to continue to work at. And I know that. It's not a surprise to me, but boy, am I learning it firsthand. And so just really surrounding myself with the right people and really embracing this time in life. And so I think finding ways to continue to foster that part of my health is really important to me. And then, of course, I always have goals around places I want to go and eat. So
right. It's kind of like, but that's like what's that called? Like the opposite, like a yin and a yang. Like the yin is my physical health is of the utmost importance. Right. And then the yang to that is, and I want to eat and drink my way around the globe.
That's right. So you just walk more.
I guess, yeah.
You exercise more.
Yes.
Calories in, calories out.
That's right.
But my physical health it's more also about strength and balance. When something happens at 50.
Touché.
Yes. So I'm talking about, yes, I want to, it's more about being in shape. I want to be physically fit to be able to do more things longer in life. Like that's very important. And I focused so long physically that I was allowing other parts of me to not be tended to. And I learned a lot of lessons about that in 2022, which I'm proud to have worked through and again, still proud to be on that journey. So
love it. Well, one of mine is going to be Pilates.
Okay.
I've started that, but I'll talk more about it after this advertisement.
Okay.
2023 is just around the corner, and we're here to share that the best and most downloaded tool we produce at DMA is officially available and ready for you to snag for strategic planning in 2023. Each year, we create 2 calendars for marketers to use in the year ahead. A marketing events calendar, which is full of important industry events you need to know and be planning for to stay on track, as well as a social media calendar, which has content ideas and inspiration for almost every day of the year. Both calendars also contain statistics and tips from our team to help you see the best results possible for your brand. Make sure to head to our website, dma-solutions.com, or click the link in today's show notes to download these free and helpful calendars today. These calendars are our lifeline at DMA, and we know they'll be helpful for you too.
Okay, so Pilates, I don't know if that's
I'm so excited.
I am so excited.
I'm such a huge fan.
I love it so much.
Yes.
And I just want to say, it hurts.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
Like,
if you're doing it right.
Okay, I feel like you didn't mention that when you did Pilates.
You see me limping around here.
I did see that. I saw the soreness, which I do have.
Okay.
But I'm talking about in the moment. Like there are spots in my hiney
Oh,
that
we're
I didn't
going there.
know.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't know there were muscles there.
Yes.
That are like, what are you doing right now?
So,
right?
wow, that's cool because mine didn't have a voice, but
Yeah, mine
that's
talks. And you know
special.
what? When somebody's a planking, when I have to hold planks, 3 of them, that's torture.
Yes.
But on the 3rd one, I'm talking to myself, and all these things come out.
Okay.
Like it's an empowerment. I told Aaron yesterday, my husband.
Are you doing group or private?
It's like Scientology. Privates. No. What am I saying? Groups.
You're doing groups.
I'm doing privates. No, I'm doing groups.
Okay, well, that means you're talking and people are hearing the audible version of your muscles.
No, I'm not saying a word.
But inside you are.
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to get a picture
game.
of that. Okay.
Yeah, no. Now, some people, which I was going to bring up today, not thinking about the resolve, but man, there are some vocal people in there.
Yeah.
You also didn't warn me about that. You didn't warn me about
I took
the
privates.
pain. And you didn't warn me about the screaming.
Yes.
And moaning.
Which is why I did privates, because not only did I moan, scream, I cuss.
I might try that.
Yeah, just cuss
Just for
straight
fun.
up. Straight up cussing. And my coach would cuss right back at me.
Here's
was
the deal.
amazing.
Now I'm seeing the benefit of a private potentially because, I can't, if someone starts a moaning, I cannot be serious. Like it's over.
Okay.
For me.
Noted.
I'm trying to be on this reformer. I've got straps around legs. I've got a foot over my head. I've got a foot in my neighbor's face. Like I'm stretched. And someone moans and I burst.
You start laughing.
I start laughing.
And then when for our listeners, you may not know this, but once she starts to giggle, it's hard to stop.
It's really bad.
It's really
an
bad.
old habit from Catholic school when I wasn't allowed to laugh.
Oh, okay.
I know. You couldn't laugh. Especially during Mass, which is exactly when I wanted to do it. And now it is carried over and is now into Pilates class. So I get in trouble from time to time with the instructor because...
She tells you to pipe down?
she says, ladies, focus on your breathing. And she looks right at me.
Oh, which is a passive-aggressive way to tell you to be quiet.
Quiet. Well, just keep it under control, lady.
Well, at least
that's what she's trying to say. Like, come on, newbie. Get a grip.
Well, stick with it because it eventually becomes something you can't imagine you ever not doing. I think if you're doing it in the right place and with the right coach,
Yes.
and it's transformative, and I love it because it provides you with, muscle growth and all those type of things, but it's the balance and the core that I love the most. Like, that is what I've benefited greatly from. So,
I guess
yay, I'm so happy for you.
Thanks. I'd like to talk about it a little bit more, but I'm not going to.
I'm sure our listeners would appreciate us
that.
moving on to the topic.
Moving on. But one day we are going to talk about the bolo, which you've never talked about.
Yeah.
One day.
I hate that thing.
It's not my friend.
No, it's not my
It
friend.
looks like an alien. So there's that.
Okay.
And it hurts. Okay.
Yes.
So we're going to move on. We're going to talk about 2022.
Oh, great.
And just David thought it would be a good idea if we talked about a recap, but not a recap in the way of, like statistics and things like that. Like, nothing too heavy here.
Okay.
But just revelations that we've had, because we started this podcast in February.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been almost a full 12 months.
Okay.
So looking back, let's talk a little bit about the podcast.
Okay.
And you think about in recap,
Mm-hmm.
is there anything that surprised you about it? Is there anything you've learned? Share anything.
Well, I think, again, and this mainly might be for newer listeners. Our following keeps growing. I mean, I think you and I look at the numbers and
Can't
we
believe
just
it.
sit in shock.
Yeah.
And we sit in gratitude.
Yes.
As we mentioned in the last episode of the year, how grateful we are that our abilities to open up and share our experiences, mostly professional experiences and some personal,
Yes.
that it's helpful to others. And that feels so great. It feels great to think that, and then also we're talking about things that we're still experiencing. And so it's just great to have a community around us that appreciates that. But I want everyone to know, whether you've been with us from the beginning and jumped in the middle or just joined us on this, I think this is episode 44. Mm-hmm. It's our 44th episode. So we're kicking off the year with number 44. Is what I want everyone to know is that this was probably a 4-year denial. I was just flat out denied. Like, I did not. People have been saying to us for a long time we should do a podcast. Yeah. But it was always in my mind that it would be about marketing because that's what we do and that's what we know.
Yeah.
And then as time went on, I began to speak a little bit more openly on conference panels and at women's conferences and et cetera. And quite frankly, here and with colleagues. And
Take a sip.
you're gonna take a sip. Uh-oh.
Drink.
Okay, well, don't spit in the microphone. Is that I started to realize that when I talked openly about the struggles we've had in leadership, and when people found out that I wasn't, to the team, the best leader and the 26% approval rating, I started to realize, wait a minute, because people applauded that, but then they just started to ask question after question after question, and I know you got the same thing. Yeah. And so then I started to really believe in the potential for a podcast. So once we believed, we did what marketers do. We created this thing, and then it was time to do it. And guess what? I'm sure there's some, we just aren't, I don't know that you're not born a leader and you're definitely not born a podcaster.
No.
And so we dove in, and thankfully we partnered with an incredible group of people at Snacks Media who gave us the confidence to do this and to not only do it on the audio version, but then also film it. And so, I think back on that first episode and just the nerves and
Totally.
Just the unknown. Like, we literally were doing something. I mean, you can Google how to podcast and you'll get stuff about the equipment and all the other stuff and maybe a script on how to do it, but we weren't going to do that because it was really important that we keep this in our personality lane. And that being, we're serious, but we don't take ourselves that seriously. And we have fun. And you and I have, we have good chemistry. Yeah. And we wanted that to come through. And then I wanted to talk about music. And I was told maybe we shouldn't do that. And I said, if I'm going to put us through this, each and every week, we're talking about music because that's very important. So I think for our listeners, it's just, we didn't know what we were doing.
No.
And then we get the first episode out, and I just remember it felt like it was like you're giving a piece of yourself, and it was the vulnerability, but then the response was just overwhelming with the small community that we were able to form right at first. And that felt good. Yeah. And it felt good to do it because I think our team here was looking to their two leaders, and they knew how vulnerable we were about it, but they were looking to see how we would show up and what would happen. So that's kind of the beginning of what I think about, is how unsure we were, but we didn't let that get in our way. Because part of being self-smarter is taking what some would call a calculated risk. And what were we risking? I wouldn't say we were risking our reputation or anything, but a little bit our own dignity to some degree.
Yeah, a little bit.
Hence we started off this episode talking about this rot water that we're drinking.
Rot water.
Yeah, we've clearly gotten some confidence along the way, so thank you for all of that. But yeah, that's what I think about. What do you think about in those early moments?
I just didn't think anybody was going to like us. But I mean, I think that's like schoolyard, like
us, like how?
Elementary school. I didn't think people would want to listen.
Right. Okay.
Who wants to listen to that?
What?
Us.
Well, I think it's the content too.
It is, but that was my fear.
Okay.
Like
fair.
no one's going to want to listen to us. And
who do we think we are?
who do we think we are? Well, over time, I mean, we see the numbers every month. So,
but I want everyone to know we don't have goals.
No.
For numbers.
No.
We did not for this year. We were like, if a few people listen, we're going to keep up.
Right.
We did commit.
A few people that care.
And we did commit to that.
Yes.
And I always knew we're going to get through this year, and then we're going to look and decide if this is something that we want to pursue.
That's right.
And we knew pretty early on, just based on, again, what people were giving back to us. And then we had a great group of guests, which we're going to really, we'll talk more about 2023 here in a minute. But then it started to really, you would go to shows and our phones blow up and emails and just people reaching out. And it's interesting which topics are resonating. And and Jordan and Jesse and I were just looking at that this week, is just how interesting it is to see which episodes really, because my heart is a bit broken. I think one of our poor, I'm hurt over this,
I know
listeners,
what you're gonna say.
is that one of the least performing episodes that we have. And we didn't have goals for it, but I was thinking it would be a top performer, was leadership lessons from Dolly Parton. So that stings a little, people.
I want to say,
y'all go listen to that.
I want to say it was episode, okay, I'm going to recall this.
Okay.
22, I think. Like, this is not planned, by the way, y'all.
Yeah.
We didn't plan to talk about this. I want to say it's like that, but it's leadership lessons from Dolly Parton. And
I was so excited.
I was so excited, and y'all just didn't listen to it. Like, it was just a skip over kind of thing. Like, we can see the progression. If someone, let's say, we started the podcast in February, we can see when someone starts from the beginning, let's say in June, because our numbers are scaling growth that way. You see, skip right on over.
Skipped over Dolly. Like, how can anyone in their right mind? I really don't understand that. I appreciate everyone and respect everyone. This was perplexing to me.
It's so funny. I don't like it for you, though. I don't like it for me either, because Dolly Parton's amazing.
Right.
She's a self-smarter leader.
Okay, so that's one.
So
I have a resolution for all of you. Listen to that episode.
Listen, if you want an encyclopedia level, in-depth lesson about how Dolly Parton
is an amazing
leader,
She's
please
self-smart.
listen to that episode. You'll do us so happy, and we'll see you because we get those numbers, so we'll know.
And I'll thank each and every one of you. Well, we don't know who listens to what. We don't know who you are, but I will still send out some thank yous. But what's funny about that episode is that in the middle of it, Megan literally stops and she's like, "You literally just quoted something I Googled about Dolly Parton." I was like, "Yeah, it's pretty deep."
She just knows it off the top of her head. That's what I mean. Like, she can read. She knows things verbatim. How I found them in research. I was like, wow, this is next level fan club. This is the extra.
So, Dolly, if you're listening, please know that I tried my best to share your amazing gifts, and they've definitely shaped me. So, thank you. So,
but we didn't. So they do like us.
Oh, yes.
Circle back.
To circle back.
You do like us. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
We're so glad. But really, what has surprised me is, you said it a little bit earlier, but as I'm out there living life and going to trade shows and showing up at meetings, I'm hearing like people are stopping me and saying, "Oh my gosh, I love your podcast." And I'm like, "What?"
it still feels like new. That's still
yes,
a humbling feeling.
I don't know that it's ever going to get old.
No, I don't think so.
That's really something. And then on top of it, people who you and I both respect, and we know who they are, and we know. Most of the time, I do know if I'm at these events and they come up to me and they say that. Then they go deep. Like they'll go deep in an episode, or they'll...
Talking about an episode with you?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, And, so it is making a difference. I did think it could. You always hope it will. I'm here to tell you, I think it might be. I think it might be making a difference.
It is making a difference.
Yes.
I mean, when you're getting...
It's amazing.
In-depth, verbal and written confirmation that just something we shared was helpful. And it's interesting because what's the episode? Episode 34, where I open up about my journey. I can't remember the number.
It's in the 30s.
It's in the 30s. Anyway, it has agility in it. Anyway, it's interesting that we want this podcast to be about leadership, but it's really important that it's about the professional and the personal. And so just for me, opening up about what I've been through this year and some of the things I struggled with personally and was working to turn around, people reaching out to me on that level. So I think that's been an inspiration to you and I that we're going to use in 2023, is to make this podcast always about lessons in leadership. But we're going to start to expand into some topics that are less in the office, because most of what we talk about is rooted in work. And we try to expand that from a personal note, because leaders are everywhere. It just depends on when you decide. But that was a kind of a boost too, a boost of confidence. That was something difficult for me to do, and you led me through it as you do. And I'm really glad that I did that. Yeah.
Good.
I was really questioning that episode, but it's turned out to be.
Oh, yeah. No, that was a good one.
Yeah.
I want to say out loud, because I don't know that people know this or not. I think they probably wonder. I get asked this a lot. Is it scripted? That's question number one. And then question number two is it a lot of work? So the answer to both is yes and no.
And no. Yeah, that is the answer to both.
Scripted, sometimes, you know what, if we have...
No one's questioning this episode if it's scripted.
No script, thanks. But what we do have are bullet points to guide where we want you to go on this journey with us. So we want you to know definitions. We want you to know statistics to back up theory. We want you to have some meat on the bone, as Dana would say. Yeah, to really chew on some things when you leave us on Mondays or whenever you listen to it. So it's not necessarily scripted, sometimes a little bit more than others.
Well, yeah, especially if we're sharing a topic that requires that. If we're going through 9 Enneagram numbers, you can bet we have some notes. We have some notes. And I think that's important, because we structured this podcast that way because that's the way we learn. So what we do is we take something that's known, and then we also apply, so something that's specific, and then we have learned as leaders that you have to also pay attention to the subjective nature of what is known, especially as in regards to human beings, and we're committed to this because we want at our company, we wanted people to be a better version of themselves here, and most certainly when they're not here.
Correct.
And when we made that commitment, that's what is kind of rooted, been one of the core reasons why we started this podcast, because when we made that commitment, it changed our company. We changed for the better and continue to do so. We stumble along the way, and we make no bones about that. And what I can tell you is that we want our episodes to be reflective of literally how we go through the day, conversations, challenges, wins, you name it, and how we're doing life. And I believe, based on the, the conversations I've had with many of our listeners, is that part of it.
Yeah.
That's a lot of what we hear back, is that you make sometimes a complex subject easier, but you also, the fact that you gave that statistic, or I used that statistic in a meeting, or I shared that. I sit on a boards for a couple of companies, and literally mentioned Working Genius, I don't know, probably 9 months ago. They have 400 people in their company. Their HR person became certified in Working Genius, uses our podcast, and the entire company is using Working Genius as part of their literally development program.
Wow.
And so
Fantastic.
I didn't know I didn't make that recommendation as a board member. She listens to the podcast, and she took it and she goes, and I'd like to thank Danelle and Megan with DMA Solutions. She said this at the board meeting, for introducing us to Working Genius. And I thought to myself, when did I do that? And so I messaged her afterwards, and she's like, no, I listened to your podcast. I thought she thanked me. And I wondered why she thanked you, because you don't go to those meetings with me. Right. But I was just like, that was nice that she included you.
Yes.
And it was the podcast. So it's like little nudges. And it's so interesting that those nudges come at just in a moment where we're like, did that episode, what do we think of it? And we rarely walk away from an episode going, we nailed it.
Never. We nailed that one. We walk away and go, uh-oh.
I don't know how that's going to fly.
A rough one.
Or we get the giggles and we have to cut, and poor David's having to cut out, and his team are having to cut out. Lord knows how much runtime, but yes, but that's the moment. So just again, I think we're just trying to reflect on the gratefulness of it. And, the thing that I want our listeners to know is that we take heed to what you have to say. This is your podcast. I mean, yes, we're delivering the content, but this is something that we want to be an ever useful tool, and something that makes you feel less alone in that leadership seat, which can be extremely lonely, and it can keep you interested in this journey of better every day. And that's what this is all about.
That's right.
So,
and then the second part of that question was,
sorry.
No. I mean, this is all very good, but the second part was, does it take a lot of time? Is it a lot of work?
So the answer is yes and no. So the answer for me is not as much.
No. It is
a significant amount of time.
Yeah, it's a lot of time. We think about it all the time. Mm-hmm. I mean, we never stop thinking about it. Mm-hmm. Every podcast I listen to, I'm thinking about, well, maybe this could correlate into our podcast, or, I have a brilliant idea. How am I going to write that down while driving this car? I don't.
Well, good.
Obviously.
Please.
But, those kind of things happen all the time, and it takes time to do the research. Mm-hmm. We do have a team, but they're busy with other work. So this is a lot of you and me. And then, of course, we have our production team, which Chanel's mentioned multiple times. It takes a lot of people. I'm not saying it's hard. I'm saying if you're thinking about starting a podcast, you might want to come be our guest first.
Yes.
To walk through this and see how it feels, see how it goes, look at everything, come to Dallas, sit here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I think you make a great point. People ask me all the time, is it hard?
Yeah.
I don't know that it's the way we're doing it, that it's hard, but the coordination, and we do care about presenting good information to you all. Right. So it matters that it's something that is of value, and we're not striving for perfection.
No,
that's not what we're after. However, we want it to be something that you can stand to listen to. So because of that, the preparation on the content is Megan does the heavy lifting on that. And then just to be able to get into the groove that we know is necessary for people to make it through an episode, and for our dynamic to not be a distraction.
Right.
That takes a conscious thought, because Megan and I can sit around and just not make sense to anyone if we really try. Yes. Or actually, we hardly do try, and that happens a lot.
Yeah, we do.
And so I think that and then like you said, the coordination, and then with my move to New York, now we have two
That
studios.
was a zinger.
A little bit of a zinger.
Actually, it ended up being really smooth. Mm-hmm. It sounded big. The move was big.
Yes.
In terms of this podcast, it wasn't.
No, and what I will say about that is just going into a studio in Times Square.
Yeah.
It's kind of a
Cool.
It's cool, and you know, it gets a little anxious. I mean, you're.
Yes.
I can't explain it.
Yes,
It feels really like showtime.
It does.
Because we're literally walking through Times Square
Yes.
to get to the studio. So, and then their environment, the studio environment's different than our little Studio A here in our home.
Yeah, it's
in
neat.
DMA Solutions. So
I love it when we record in New York. It's fun.
it is fun.
And then I pinch myself and remind myself I'm in New York.
Yes, that happens a lot.
What about 2023? What are we looking forward to? What do we want our listeners to look forward to in 2023?
Well, I think we've definitely identified that our listeners like guests.
We sure have, haven't we?
We have. The guests are a big deal. They're some of our best episodes. I think. I mean,
Performing, yeah.
yeah, and so are some of the others that are. It just depends on what people are looking for.
Right.
But I think people really enjoy the guests, and what Meg and I we've been working on is how to make the guest part, good for the guest. And we tapped into some guests that we knew really, really well in 2022, and that was helpful. And we learned a lot that we can do to help them, and in terms of putting the guests in a position to feel really good about their episode. So there will be more guests. We have some work to do when you're not here, because when you're not in an episode, someone
Has
that
to
would
do
be
the
me.
intros and outros.
Yeah, and I have a lot of work to do.
Well,
I have some practicing to do, but yeah, I think guests and a lot of because of the incredible response, we have a lot of great ideas, and so I'm looking forward to, and I hope all of you are as well, having some subject matter that has been recommended to us and that people want to know more about, and so I think that will be an exciting part of 2023. What about you? Like, what do you?
yeah, I mean, what I like about you being in New York is the access that you have to so many interesting people, which is what who we've primarily been talking to. People you have met. You knew Adria for a long time. We just met Michelle.
Yes.
So you're meeting all these interesting business people out there who are going through exactly what we're talking about and connecting with it. So we're going to probably bring more people from different walks of life,
For sure.
different industries, different perspectives. But the commonality is that we all are leaders and we're all navigating the stuff together.
Right. And I want to explore topics that may not easily align just perfectly with leadership. Like I really want a series on creativity and how different people tap into creativity, because believe it or not, leadership requires creative thinking at times. And so if we can explore disciplines that aren't necessarily always, like I said, easily correlated with leadership, quote unquote, I think that I'm looking forward to finding ways to do more of that. Like how cool to bring in actors and chefs and people
Artists who are also leaders.
Yes, they have to be. And I'm sure Brandy Carlisle will want to come on.
She wants to come.
I know she does. She's just taking a minute to get back to us.
Y'all, if that ever happens, I don't even know. I don't even know.
I don't know.
We're going to have a ticker tape break.
But no, we have some commitments to some performing artists that you can see their work, and I think that'll be fun for our guests, most certainly.
Yes. I'm looking forward to seeing how light my hair actually gets. So for those of you who don't watch this on video, I've changed the color of my hair.
It keeps changing, which
It
it's
does.
fun because every
week it's different.
And then especially sometimes
What
I
will
don't
she
see
do?
you. I talk to you every day, but sometimes I don't see you, and then
You're like, whoa.
and then the recording starts to happen, and when I'm in New York, and
Yes.
I'm like, she did it again.
But it's like a thing. It's like I look back now at pictures from February. This is so stupid, and I'm not vain at all. So, but I look back at pictures that we took, to promote our podcast, and I'm like, who's she?
Yeah.
Who did?
We
It's
might
me.
need We might need to get some new headshots
We do.
with your hair color changes.
We do. We
Okay.
do. So that's just a funny thing. But really, I'm looking forward to seeing what people gravitate towards more. And that's, as a marketing nerd, like that's the fun part for me is what are the topics that you guys are really gripping onto? You gripped onto Enneagram in 2022. Will you still grip onto Enneagram in 2023? I think you will. There are some people I think that are like enough with it, and then they'll just not listen to the episode, or they'll pick the right time to listen to the episode.
You can see that that's definitely of interest to people. I mean,
Yes.
people are reaching out for personal coaching
Yes.
on it. So we know that is a subject matter that we can explore it so many different ways, which is interesting. You can apply like we did blind spots for your Enneagram number. And so many different ways that we can explore that. You look at some of the top performing episodes beyond our guests, and you start to look at, wow, people want to know a little bit more about toxic cultures. And I did not even want to use that word.
I know.
But it hit a nerve. The other one, which I thought, well, this is a bit passive. I'm not sure everybody, I'm not sure how this one's going to float, but servant leadership, another one. And so it's given us the confidence. We know that there are shared interest and struggles with these topics. And so we're going to be talking about some topics. I'll be honest with you, we have a very robust content calendar because we can talk about so many different things. We're going to continue to do our books. I think that was something that people look forward to.
One more thing I want to open the door for in 2023 that I think would just be interesting is if we are invited to speak about these things that we talk about all the time. We talked about it a lot because it was our first time to be asked to speak as podcasters in September, but that's certainly something we're open to.
Oh, absolutely.
In 2023. So,
some live episodes.
Yeah.
That would be interesting.
Live stuff, event stuff. You mentioned the board meeting where the woman mentioned Working Genius. Why can't we come and talk about Working Genius with an executive team?
Yeah, that's great.
So anyway, I just want y'all to know the door is open for that. If you're interested, reach out to us. We don't have any kind of structure for that necessarily, but we will figure it out.
Yeah, we can do that all day long. Yeah, I think that's a great point. Like if you need some help looking at your culture and we've learned a lot about that, and there's some great episodes on that subject matter, but that's the kind of thing that we also want to help leaders and companies with is working through some of those things. I don't know that we're an expert on anything we talked about, not one of our episodes, other than we've experienced it or we're in the middle of experiencing it. And many times we're experiencing it again because we didn't learn enough the first time around.
Right. And we find ourselves consulting on these things
all the time. Yes.
We get into the weeds with our clients and their business as we should as a consultant and a marketing advisor. And I find myself, I know you do too, consulting a lot on organizational planning, cultural planning, how we're going to name these things that we're the best at and why. And so all these things that we're talking about, I talk about on the daily with leaders of organizations that we serve.
And one thing that I kind of hinted with a little bit at the beginning was I want to have people on here that help us with our physical, mental, and emotional growth. Yeah. So we would love to have my therapist that we lovingly call Doc. But until I'm graduated therapy this go around, but she's offered to come on and really talk about tools that you can use to help you with negative thinking or any number of things. I mean, she's transformed me in so many ways, and my mind. I like how my mind correlates to my emotions. And so want to have her on. I would love to talk to nutritionists and things that we can tie back to when that part of us is in sync, whether again, mental, emotional, or physical. When those things are in sync, we're going to be able to show up in a better way as self-smarter leaders. And we know this to be true. I don't think that's anything we didn't know, but boy, you really don't know it until you find yourself in one of those tanks being empty.
Right.
And, that's something that I certainly experienced in 2022. So I'm excited about those type of topics too, like pushing the boundaries will be interesting, and we'll really look forward to our listeners. Like, do you like that? type of conversation. So that'll be an interesting take as well.
Awesome. Let's transition to music.
Oh, wow.
The most wonderful part of the episode.
Especially when Megan sings it.
Well, watch out, because
that peach drink might be her 2 sips of kicking in.
The dirty water. Woo! So I thought it would be a nice time to talk about favorite songs of 2022. Spotify did their big wrap in November. I think it came out like November 15th.
Yeah, the thing about the wrap is they introduced it, but you know that it's still calculating.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's still calculating. It'll calculate till the end of the year. So for those of you who know about Spotify, you know what the wrap is. But for those that you might not listen to Spotify a lot, they do this really cool thing where they give you basically your personal statistics about artists that you like, music you like, the different genres, podcasts, which, that felt so good.
We were in it.
We were in it. A lot of people, and they shared that on social and shared it with us, is that Self Smarter made their top 5. So they give you your top 5 podcasts that you listen to. And Self Smarter made quite a few people's lists, which, again, humbling and grateful for.
Amazing.
And what I love about it, too, is it'll tell you what percentage of a fan you are to a particular artist. So you can say, and like Meg and I are relative to Brandi Carlile, we are.
It's an embarrassing stat.
You
might want to keep it inside.
I mean, Mackie Payton was like, Mom, like, do you realize you're less
on the planet?
There's 0.05 people that listen to Brandi Carlile more than you do on the planet.
Wow, I believe it.
I know.
At least on Spotify, they're not.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, they may listen to, I don't know.
Right, on records. I guess.
But I can't imagine not having Spotify. I don't know what we did before Spotify, but we did something. Well, but it's so cool, though.
It's so cool. It's the best thing ever. And if you have Spotify and you don't know about it, just go check it out.
It's easy. It's on your homepage. Yeah,
they're marketing it to you on the homepage. But I thought it'd be fun if we think about away from Spotify, like if you can disconnect from Spotify statistics for a minute and just tell me from your heart, in 2022, I know you do this. Let me tee this up better. We tend to align music to years. I think a lot of people do that.
Sure.
Because it's memory driven, experience driven. A song aligns with a memory. Mm-hmm. So in 2022, obviously you had a very big year.
In many ways.
All listen to it. Yes.
Yes.
What songs do you think will stick with you and you'll think, oh man, that's 2022 in a nutshell? Do you have any?
Oh yeah. I mean, I have a whole playlist of it.
I know.
But and I know you wanted me to just talk about it in general, but Spotify certainly validated it. But I think the song that helped me navigate a lot of things was Easy on Me by Adele. And that was something that I relied on a lot to kind of help. Again, it was a beautiful year in so many ways, but that song can be about a struggle, but it's also about a beautiful struggle. Right. And so that brought me great comfort and relief. And so I would say that would be my number one. I have about 100. So, but that's my number one. And before I go into more, what's your number one?
Well, I have 3, but I don't know that I can rank them.
Well, you don't have to rank them. Okay. Then give all 3.
Okay. Well, I'm not going to do the obvious one first because everybody knows that we love Brandi Carlile. So I'm going to say my number one song that'll make me think of this year is As It Was by Harry Styles.
Interesting. Okay.
As It Was, which if you know it and you love it. But there's a memory tied to it. I think I told you about this. I was driving. I picked up my son who was 15 and a bunch of his friends in the car, and they were everywhere. And they're all 15-year-olds, and it came on. Mm-hmm. The song just came on, and I mean they were belting it out. Mm-hmm. So that will always be a memory for me.
Yeah, because that feels good. Yeah, that's such a great memory.
Oh, I like. For one, I'm cool. I think.
Yes.
Like I can hang with them with their music, and 2, they knew every word and they were singing it like roll down the windows. Like we rolled the windows down and we were all screaming, and it was so fun.
Awesome.
And then one that I think everyone should listen to immediately, like stop the car and put this on, is there's 2. Party of One by Brandi Carlile. Mm-hmm. If you have never heard that song.
And stick with it.
Yes.
Because it starts out, but stick with it. It is literally, to me, one of the most true, let me not say articulate, true descriptions of what it is to love someone wholly.
Yes.
I think, but the way she does it, it's the truth.
A love letter.
But it's true.
Yes.
It's not the flowery version.
No.
So stick with the song because it's worth it. And what's cool about that song too is, well, you say it.
Yes.
You say it.
So I think it was a religious experience. I don't know what happens.
It was.
Yeah. Okay. So it's like when you're in a moment and you're like, I hear angels singing and the sky is parting and like grace is here. We were at Red Rocks and it was the rainy night. It wasn't the night that wasn't raining. We were being rained on and everybody was
freezing.
We were miserable physically, but we were in awe and enamored with Brandy's performance and her band. We were just taken aback.
The venue, of course.
Yes. At one point, she gets up to the piano and she plays this by herself. And she's playing the piano, and there's a part in the song that invites other people to sing. She didn't say anything, and the whole audience sang it out loud. And I mean, not that that's any different than any other concert, but the words themselves were so special. I could cry talking about it. But I mean, I was like forever changed. And that's why we talk about her all the time. That's why I'm obsessed.
The artist, and just the fact that she just dedicates it to her wife.
Every time.
And I just, what that must feel like to stand alongside the stage, which Brandy's wife, Catherine, for those of you who listen to Broken Horses, you lovingly call her Kath. But, and you know, she's going to be our friend, so it's okay to call her that.
Fine.
It's fine. Yes.
She's gonna be
but
our friend
that makes it extra special too. So you're right. Like, it's not just the years, but it's the tie. And there's a song by Trisha Yearwood that's called "The Song Remembers When." Yes, back in the day, right? Yes. But I love that song because it is exactly what you just described. It, but is that moment in time where, like, I was moved. Maybe you listen to that song. We've heard that song so many times before. We've already seen her in concert. Now, at that point, we'd already seen her perform the song.
Correct.
But Meg was right. Like, that moment where we were giving back and she was just taking it in. And it was a religious experience.
She was shocked.
She was shocked.
It was so loud. And we were just like, we're here.
And this is outdoors, remember?
And we're freezing.
Yeah. And we don't care.
And we don't care because we love you.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
Neat. Okay, you tell me yours.
No, your third one.
Okay, my third one, I also think now that you've stopped the car and listened to Party of One and you're back, welcome back.
It's okay if there's a tear or two.
Yeah, cry it out, girl.
Cry it out.
Or boy. Cry it out. Okay, yeah, because my husband loves that Party of One. Mm-hmm. Oh man,
yeah,
that did it for him too.
Yeah, and there's a version where she sings it by herself, but I would recommend that you do the version. Well, no, I think the one with Sam Smith is good too.
It is good, but it's nothing like Brandy.
Well, I don't. Yeah, okay.
But yes, okay, and we can debate that later. Mm-hmm. Okay, the other song that you have to listen to, and it just so happens that she's in the band, but she's not the main character in this song. But this song is called "Old Soul," and it's by the Highwomen, which I think this may be fake news, so just bear with me.
Okay, here we go.
News. But I was doing some research, not about this episode, not about this.
Oh, okay.
About something else. And I saw that the Highwomen, this album that this song is on, is in Rolling Stone's number 100 albums of all time.
Yes.
Like, it's like in 60s, but still, it's in there. Mm-hmm. So, y'all, this song is ridiculous. It's called Old Soul. Mm-hmm. Give it a listen. It's Maren Morris who sings it.
Yes. Ugh, I love it so much.
And I just can't. Song. That's always
so no, but
be a song
what
for me.
This year? Because that's not a new song.
It's not. Neither one of those are. As It Was, I think, is the only one out of those three that released this year. But why that song? Because it was my number one most listened to song of 2022.
Oh, okay.
Number one. I mean, Spotify made a big deal about it. So.
Right. Well, interesting. Yeah, and I would highly recommend. That's the four of them together it's such an incredible quartet of women singing amazing songs.
Amazing. Yeah. Okay, now your others.
I would say there's a song that just kind of stumbled my way, and I felt it on so many levels, but it's called Saint by Maggie Rose.
I know that.
And I made you listen to it a lot. But Saint, that was, I have so many emotions tied to that song, but I definitely love that song. And then I also It's funny because my top 5 artists were all female, which I was, I thought that was pretty interesting because it's usually more of a mix. But there was only one male, and it was a group, One Republic. So I listened to I love One Republic.
You went on a big bender this year.
I did. Well, they have a live album that I fell in love with, and I would highly recommend that y'all listen to it. But it's what's called One Night in Malibu, and so is the live album. And they recorded a lot of songs that but then a lot of songs that I had never heard. And I'm a pretty big fan of One Republic. I've seen them several times. But there's a song called I Lived. And it's literally about leaning into life. And, everyone knows that if you listen at all, I turned 50 this year and kind of really evaluated a lot of things. And so I love that song, I Lived, because it reminds me that's what I'm here to do. Mm-hmm. And it keeps me in the right headspace. So I love to work out to it, and I love to drink wine to it.
Yummy. Wow, that's the greatest song ever. I like to do all the things to it.
Exactly.
Live my life.
Yes. So yeah, I'd say that was it. And
good.
I loved. Yeah, music is, and again, it's such a big part of who you and I both are, and it's a big part of our relationship, and I love that part of it, and I love sharing it, and I love hearing from our listeners what they think of our rants on music. So we're definitely continuing it in 2023. So it's not going anywhere.
Yeah, we're not stopping unless you make us.
No.
Listeners. And even still, if they're like, no more music moments, which they wouldn't do, but
they can just hit pause.
No. We're so grateful y'all are here.
We are.
And we're grateful that you've hung in this long to this kind of different episode. But thank you for being with us, and cheers to you. Cheers to 2023. I don't know that we're going to have a lot of show notes in this one. We're going to have some links to other podcasts that we've done.
Yeah, there are not going to be a lot of show notes on this.
Yes, there's not. But
we'll put links to our songs if you want to go check that out. Okay. And we'll put some links to to other episodes, and we'll look forward to having all of 2023 to explore. It'll be interesting to have a full year under our belt, so that'll be great.
It will. Cheers to you all, and until next week, we send you into the week with grateful hearts.
Goodbye, everyone. As always, you can connect with us on Instagram and Facebook at Self Smarter Podcasts. You can also leave a rating or review if you enjoyed what you heard today. Not only does this mean so much to us, but it also helps other leaders and future leaders find our community. Thank you for taking time out of your day to join us in becoming Self Smarter. This podcast is produced by Snacks Media, and music is from a free platform. Well, that is until Brandy Carlisle reaches out to us to write the original score for our podcast. Friends, have a great rest of your day.